experts here again.
He is. The expert's in the house.
Now, Ryan, if I gave you the opportunity, would you rather talk about Steph Curry's 50 points this morning or what's happening in football at the moment?
Steph Curry's 50
let's go
points at the
Steph
moment.
Curry.
Although I don't want to talk
Wow.
about the New York Knicks getting beaten in game one.
Yeah.
We do have to talk about footy, though. There is a bit happening. We'll
There
get to
is.
our absolute turd show of a weekend in WA footy
Yes.
a bit later. But there's more pressing
I was going to
news.
say, should we talk about the big announcement?
Big announcement.
New
It's coming.
boss.
Yes, the new boss, very slick, Andrew Dillon. So he will take over from Gil McLaughlin. That's been just told to the clubs on a phone hookup just now.
Yeah. Do you
he'll-
sometimes sneak on there or it's pretty tight?
I couldn't. I mean, I've never tried.
No, okay.
But you know, there's that thing when they announce you sometimes on Ryan Daniels has entered the call. You know what that?
Oh, right, okay.
You know,
I
you
was
don't-
thinking you could just slime ball yourself into the back. And
You hit
like,
the wrong thing, then you're a potato, and then you
I think
can't
he
get
thinks
out.
that it's much more sophisticated in sports journalism than it actually is. We're not that clever.
Yeah, okay.
We can't slide into phone hookups. Andrew Dillon will take over in October. There'll be a little transition period here.
so Gil see the season out.
He'll see the season out, which
Right.
means he can,
Okay.
you know, we'll get to Tassie in a moment, but he can dot the I's and cross the T's on that and get everything moving along. Andrew Dillon, I think it's a good choice.
Who is he?
So,
Yeah, what's
that's
his
a good
backdrop?
question. It's a
What's
good
he
question.
been up to before this?
Well, okay, so he's got 3 daughters, and I've done some fact checking this morning.
Right,
3
yeah.
daughters. Played at Old Xaverians.
An
Is that
old
it?
Zav?
An Old Zav?
Yeah, an old Zav.
Right, that's a high-end school, I'm guessing.
Tier.
Careful.
Tier two.
He's
Is it
a
as good
tier.
as-
Nah, it's a
You
tier
know
one.
he's a
It's a
tier
tier
one.
one.
It's
Yeah,
equal
yeah,
with
yeah.
Melbourne Grammar,
It's a tier
where
one. No,
Sir
Don't you
Xavier
ever-
Ellis
yeah, I was gonna say,
attended.
Don't you ever say equal.
A
Don't
lot of
you
good
ever say
footballers out of Xavier College.
Right. Well, he was a pacey, long-striding on-baller, according to Wikipedia. He's worked at the AFL for 23 years. So he's done the time, he's done the apprenticeship, and he's worked everywhere within the AFL, in game development. But the most important one, and I think it's the one that got him over the line, was he was their chief legal counsel, which is a big deal, right? So if you've
During
got
some
any...
hairy times too.
Correct. All the COVID stuff and everything. And now we're about to enter a period where concussion is the biggest issue in the game.
Yeah.
Pretty handy to have a guy who knows what's going on the legal front running the show. So I think that was a big part of it. The early questions on with Dillon were, is he personable enough? When he gets in front of the camera, is he going to be able to be Gil?
Right.
You know, this big, tall, handsome, like, you know,
Yes.
stretchy dude who we're just like, I'll listen to whatever Gil says. Great hair, all of that.
Yeah.
Similar to Sean's hair. Like, you just, you know, you can see Sean's developing the Gil
I've modded it
way
Yeah.
of, as he
Yeah.
gets older.
Hasn't quite got the height.
Not
Oh,
yet,
yeah, yeah.
but that'll come.
He's still
And
growing.
It's on the way.
used
Hopefully,
to-
yeah.
Oh, you mean like physical height,
Yeah,
not their
well,
hair?
Gil's
Oh, yeah.
6'5"
He's going to
or
need
something.
he'll need to double in height.
Yeah, and you also said Gil speaks well as well.
Oh,
Sometimes,
jeez.
you know.
So that's a big call, and I think it's the right call. So as I said, that'll happen in October. One of the most pressing things for Gil to finish on is Tassie. They're definitely going to get their own team. That's the next thing that'll be ticked off this week. The money's there, as we know, from Albo, $240 million. And it will happen in 2026. They'll get a VFL team, Zave. They'll enter, just like Gold Coast and GWS did.
Slow burn.
Yep, they'll join and get a couple of sort of role players in the mix. 2027 will be the year that they enter the AFL.
Now, forget
Right.
James Sisley's comments. Do you think they will have trouble attracting players?
It depends on the type of player. I think there is a type of player that would hate to go to Tasmania. You know, if you're 20 years old and you love a bit of a party and, you know, you want to get out and about, that's probably not the spot for you.
This is where we
But
need the extra money, some development, nightclubs, different
Yeah.
places that, you know, that just attract the people.
Yeah,
sort of thing,
I
you
see
know?
what you mean. What are kids
Yeah.
like doing these days?
University
though?
age
Yeah,
students.
yeah, exactly.
Bring them back
exactly.
into town.
What they need is, well, the one thing they do have in Hobart and in a lot in Tassie is good Instagram picture spots.
Yes.
You know, kids
Yeah.
love that.
Did you know this is serious? I was the face of the
Oh, here we go.
Tasmanian travel.
God.
The
What,
guy
like the
for it.
tourism
I'm-
industry
the
sort of
tourism-
thing.
I'm
Okay,
sitting
come
on
to
it. I'm
Tassie.
sitting on the end of a rock.
Tell me there's
at
a
One Glass
Tell
Bay.
me there's a TV commercial
Yeah,
with you on
with
it.
Tasmania. No. It's just
Sipping
a
a
photo, but it's-
Chardonnay.
I was on like the
Googling, hold on.
some posters and like on the billboards and stuff.
On the
I was sitting
buses.
on One Glass Bay. I reckon
So-
it's 2007 or 8.
So
Right.
they've gone into the budget meeting at the Tasmanian government. Go, right, how much we got for this? We've
Who's the
got.
cheapest?
Can we afford Hodgie? No, we can't get Hodgie.
Well, tell you what they
hey, what
did.
about Bud? Can we get Buddy Frank? No, we haven't got enough money for Bud. Who do we have enough money for? We get Xavier Ellis.
They went with sex appeal and thought sex sells. Let's get him on top of a rock. And I said nude. They said, no, we need you in brandy. So Tasmania. Hey, just quickly looked up Xavier College. I said there's some good players from there. Big Sean Darcy from Freo.
There you go.
Ted Richards, Luke Ball, Joe Watson, Matty Spanger, Josh Kennedy, Sydney.
Right.
Dan Hanbury.
He's a good list.
Bloody good players, mate.
Very good list.
And then Sean Darcy's probably the top recruit out of there from in recent times.
And now the
Bailey
AFL
Smith,
CEO.
Bailey Smith and now
Bailey
the CEO.
Smith. Yep. Okay. I don't think Bailey would have been allowed to have that long hair at that kind of school. Exactly.
Now, where do you want to start after this weekend?
Do you reckon I could take the next 16 weeks of leave? Like, this is going to be a long season.
Oh, welcome to the world, mate.
My
You got to
goodness.
turn up and get bashed over the head.
I tell you
it's
what.
a drain.
I guess we'll start with Fremantle because they're 14th, and that means they're slightly ahead of where West Coast are. Awful season so far for Fremantle. Nothing has really gone well. 48-point loss to the Brisbane Lions. They've lost Matty Johnson. He's one of their better young players. Sling tackle on Dane Zorko. The sling tackles are in.
Had to be a suspension.
Definitely that one. Yeah,
it had to be.
Some of them you look at and you're not sure, but that one in the moment you were sure.
I think he probably knew. I think just looking on social media, I think that some people said, "Oh, at least he was having a bit of a go." But,
I did think that too. I thought, well, geez, he's pretty tough. Matty Johnson, I didn't know he had that.
Yeah.
Heath Chapman, who didn't play on the weekend, he was close to playing last week, and he's done a hammy at training at the end of the week, so he's going to miss significant time. So we're looking at probably a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks on the sideline for Chappie, which sucks. He's a good young player.
And then by the time that happens, it's mid-year, and the horse is well bolted.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, they're 14th on the ladder. They got Hawthorn on Saturday night at Optus Stadium. There's not a lot coming through in terms of waffle.
The Hawks.
No, he wouldn't. Zave, geez, look at him. He's up and about. We might
On
actually
the
see
mighty
Hawthorn
Hawks to
win.
skittle ya.
Nathan Wilson was okay in the waffle. There's not really a lot there. The one is Nat Fyfe. Now, will he play this week? I doubt that they'd
waffle.
Well, I doubt they'd put him straight in the AFL side. He'll play on Sunday against Swan Districts out in Mandurah, so I would say that's the most likely scenario.
Geez, you'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah,
from Cottesloe down to Mandurah to play in the twos.
Oh, how long would that take?
Nah, it's an hour or something. Playing down there's good fun, great people, but I mean, it's certainly not the height.
Well,
Fyfe
he could chopper down there. He can fly the chopper.
Imagine that.
He can fly choppers, you know.
Has he got his
He can fly helicopters.
Right.
And amazing. He can do everything.
How do you go as a waffle person going, no,
you're
coming in?
All right, we're playing Peel this week. Who are you going to play on Nat Fyfe?
But Erasmus or anything like that, what's happening?
Well, Erasmus played.
Yeah, but are they going to stay in or are they going to...
I would say so now.
So is that white flag?
No, I don't think they could put the white flag up. Look, they're 2-5.
In terms of kids, so
No, Erasmus isn't white flag level. I think if you're playing, there's a guy named Tom Emmett who's in the waffle team, Carl Warner in the waffle team.
He had 30-odd touches.
Kicked 3, Warner had 33. If you start bringing multiple dudes like that in, then maybe it's white flag areas. I don't think they're there yet. They're 2-5.
Corbett, why was he not in the side?
I mean, Corbett is your sort of second, third choice, fourth choice tall, really. So he's not young or he's not a difference maker.
They need someone up there to compete.
Maybe.
Where's the Kahuna?
The big Kahuna. He's playing in the waffle.
Give me some Kahuna.
Maybe the Kahuna comes
back. Bring the Kahuna in.
Jeez, it's getting dire. West Coast, speaking of dire, they're now last on the ladder. Now, they've only finished last on the ladder once. That was 2010. They won 4 games that year, and that was the year they picked Andrew Gaff with their highest draft pick of that year. They play Richmond on Saturday morning at the MCG. Richmond not going much better.
Yeah,
they're also
it's
awful.
4-round of footy. Yeah. West Coast, Richmond, Freo, Hawthorn. It's not going to be a full crowd either of them.
At least there's a chance that they might actually get up, both of those teams. West Coast to be without Samo Petrevski-Seaton. He's been given a 1-week ban for his tackle on Alex Chincotta. Rhett Bazzo's concussed, so he's going to miss. So that's 2 outs.
When was he concussed? Was it before that marketing contest where he just didn't compete?
Right at the end of the game, So the last sort of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, the issue is that's 2 outs, right? You've got to replace those 2 guys.
Yes.
And they only had 5 dudes playing in the waffle who were on their AFL list. 2 of those guys are babies. They're NGA products, so you can rule them out. Harry Barnett's not ready. You can rule him out. So that means they've only got 2 guys who can come in. That's Zane True and Cal Jamison. And then you're hoping that Dom Sheed returns. West Coast are getting to the point where they do not have enough players, just about. Like, we're right there. A couple of bad injuries at training this week, and they may not be able to field the team.
So I looked at their team on the weekend, and I was pretty vocal. I thought they'd get walloped.
Yep, you did. You walked into the box and said this could be a hunch.
Yeah, this could be 100 tonight, and it was. I reckon I counted 6 players that would get a game at Carlton on the weekend.
Yeah, and you might be being generous.
I counted 6, and 2 were Darling and Gaff, but in terms of structure, they're probably not going to play in that team because you'd be too tall, or you're going to take out Hollins, who's a kid.
Yeah.
So I was probably being a bit generous, as you said. It's like they could lose by 10 goals again this week.
Yeah, they could. I think that they were holding up the wall for a long time there. 35, 45-point losses.
Yeah, but
the damn wall burst on Saturday night.
I've got a bit of a theory on that, and I don't want to kick them while they're down. But going into half-time, 10 goals down to Geelong, I mean, that's queuing the rack stuff.
Yeah, right.
So
from
whatever
Geelong.
happens after half-time, in my opinion, a little bit irrelevant. Hence why I thought on the weekend could be 100. I wasn't buying, the margin was 40 early. Those teams just... I don't know, for experiences, if you're bashing up on a team, you lose a bit of interest at half-time.
The word you hit on then, and that's the word I think is dangerous for both our teams, is irrelevant. And I think that's where both our teams are heading for this season.
Heading?
Yep. Well, West Coast are there, and I think Fremantle are right on the cusp of it.
Hopefully there's some good stories in there somewhere along the way.
What actually happens if it's depleted that far that there's just not... What
That's a great question.
will happen?
So it's never happened before, right? We've never had an instance where a team could not field a
Just
side.
can't field the side,
It sort of happened in the COVID times, and they had to postpone games and things like that and move them around. But yes, there is a plan. They've never had to enact it. And basically, they would have to go back to state level and start recruiting guys because they don't have anyone that can actually come in and play. Yeah. So they'd have to go to...
They'd have to play those NGA kids first.
They'd have to play them first. So they'd have to play everybody in the list would have to be exhausted. Right. So
It won't happen. I wouldn't have thought.
Mate, you're only a couple of injuries
away.
away.
When you name 5 there, Dom comes back, there's 6. You're not getting 6 injuries.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope
the way they're going.
The luck that's happened.
The way they're going.
Anyway,
they would basically grab those players from the WAFL. Yeah.
Wow. Grim time for WA footy. Thank you, Ryan Daniels.
Geez, that was depressing.
On Friday. Yeah, brought me right down there.
And what song are we going to go into now, Sean?
Bit of
Find me
Niles
something
Barkley.
a bit upbeat.
Nah, this will pump you right. Ryan's brought this one in personally. Get
Good on you.
qualified today for Endless Possibilities tomorrow at Australian Training Management, RTO 2431. We'll chat to you on Friday, Rhino. Here's your song.
I'm going to bring in some positivity.
No.